Afternoon, guys. My name is Aaron,
I'm Christian.
and this is episode 32 of Brain 10, where we brainstorm 10 ideas 2 to 3 times per week, specifically talking about small business, marketing, or new tech products. And today's episode is 10 must-haves on a small business website. And we get this question quite a bit with our clients, whether they do a website with us or whether they do other marketing material with us. They want to know what works and what needs to be on their website. So we want to cover some of those today. And I'll just jump into number one. Christian, if you want to take like the main point of each one of them and try to do the question thing.
Got it.
Awesome. Okay, so number one is the contact page. And I want to do this first just because this is probably the most obvious, but it does need to be said. Basically, you'll come across sites, or I've come across sites, and there's no way to actually get a hold of that person. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna the startup brand saying it's really choppy. Is everybody else having issues? Let's stop for a second, and here, I'll pause it. Anyway, so starting recording again, but basically, I've come across websites that you have no way of knowing how to get a hold of that person. It's like, yes, they provide great value, they have an awesome product. This is really cool, but how do I get in touch with them? How do I contact them? Like, is there a contact form? Is there a phone number to call them? There needs to be some way for you to get in touch with this person to find out more about your services. Me personally, if I don't see that and there's no way to get a hold of them, then, they don't really want my business, so I'm out of there. Unless I just really, really need the product, but.
I didn't realize this, Aaron, but I'll talk a little bit more in depth, I guess, on number 4. We're almost talking about the same thing: contact page and easy to find contact information. I didn't realize that until now. I didn't really read the 5 that you did. Anyways, I'll just add more stuff whenever number 4 comes around.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to number 2. So that's why I'm not gonna basically make a comment, because I'm gonna comment on that when we move to number 4. But number 2 is something really important, and I know a lot of people are already on board with this, and it's to make sure that your website is mobile friendly, responsive. Make sure that your elements in your website move according to the size of the screen, basically. And that's something that if you don't have the devices ready for you to test them, there's a lot of websites that you can use to test how your website will look on different devices. And also a pretty simple trick that you can do too is just grab your browser window and just minimize or start shrinking it, with your mouse, and that way you can actually see how your website elements are moving according to the size of your browser screen, basically. A lot of the times that's usually what we do, to just kind of see real quick how it would look on mobile. Usually on Google Chrome it works pretty well. You can see how the elements move. Exactly. Responsive means layout shift according to fit the mobile screens, either smartphone, tablets, or anything else that's coming out. But yeah, it's not just necessarily phone ready. You don't want it to be just smartphone ready, but you have to take into consideration a lot of people are on tablets now, or even like smaller computers that almost look like tablets,
Mm-hmm.
And they're just smaller screens. So you have to take into consideration those things.
Yeah. And so JP points out that the number of people who are on mobile is just increasing every year. And one thing that I want to point out is that Google's taking note of that. And I tell this to my clients, or our clients, is that Google's using that as a factor right now, whether or not how you're ranked. So if you're not mobile friendly, you're kind of hit as far as your SEO and the ranking system, because they don't want to send out websites to people who, they haven't updated their website or it's not responsive. So that would definitely take a hit. All right, so let's move on here to number 3, unless anybody has any questions specifically about the mobile friendly. But to move on to number 3 here, this is basically like your go-to item above the fold, or how we call it. You want to have a call to action as soon as you get to the website that hits them about what you want them to do. So if it's just an informational site, then just a button that says learn more. Tell them, take them to the page you want them to be on to learn more about whatever service you have. If you have a product, for example, I know a couple of the people in the audience have different products that they're selling, whether it be something for a computer, or whether it be a new chair. If you want to sell more chairs, having a call to action above the fold saying like, buy now or learn more, the one click right there to really get the audience to go to that one page is what we're after. If they have to scroll to find it, or if they're getting confused on where to go, then you lose sales basically. So got a couple of comments over here. Most common standard ways of contacting a company person is creating social media page, Twitter. Okay, just a message. Yeah, we'll definitely touch about that. Awesome. JP saying I love the Stripe cut plugin with one click. Yeah, so that's another thing is like if you see the product, they already know what the product is when you're going to the website, and you click that option, it takes them to go purchase. They're like, yes, this is it. I'm on the landing page, or I'm on the purchase to buy, and then you just click right there and you purchase. Then it makes less loopholes, and they're going to be less likely to turn away or get, confused or bored, I guess, and get off of the site, or more chances to like click on something social media wise.
Yeah, I think that initial, batch of people who go to your website who've never been there before, that's who really are targeting that, call to action, that main call to action above the fold. It's for those people who've never been on your website, who don't know exactly what to do, where to go. We see a lot of websites that have, the navigation on the top, but then they have social media icons on the side. Then they have a whole bunch of buttons over here, and they have a sign up form at the very top also. So for a first time visitor, that's overwhelming,
Very, very overwhelming.
You just have to make sure that, if you were a first time visitor to your website, what do you want them to do? Where do you want to take them on your website? Like Aaron said, if you're selling something, that's where you want to go. You want to go to a shop now button. If you're providing a service, you need to go to a learn more button to learn more about that specific service that you're trying to people, to get to buy. So.
Yeah, I think, that's exactly. Check out the pop-ups in a light box. Yeah, that's very good. There's other ways to do that call to action. Exactly what JP is pointing out right there. But just a standard practice, you want to have that above the fold. All right, so number 4, right?
Yeah. So again, number 4 is almost like a continuation of number 1. But I guess just adding more to what Aaron said about having I know Aaron said more about the contact page, but I would be talking more about the ease how easy it is for people to get a hold of you. And I know Shashi Akula made a comment over here about social media being an avenue for people to contact you, and that could be an avenue for you to contact. I know we have a client who prefers to be contacted through Facebook, and Facebook.
I know, it's so crazy.
And to us it's crazy, but you have to make sure that people who are trying to contact you have all these platforms or avenues to contact you basically. So you want to make sure you have your phone number. You want to make sure that you have an address, email, and even if you have an email, make sure you have a form so they don't have to go and copy your email and paste it onto wherever. Make sure they have the actual form where they can just put their name, their email, and then their message, and just click a button just from your website, get a hold of you. And then another big thing with the contact information, and I know we're trying to get something like this on our website, would be to have a really, really good FAQ.
Yes.
And that gives you the opportunity to eliminate a lot of that, I mean, once you get big enough, that you have a lot of people contacting you, you get to eliminate a lot of the questions that people will be emailing you about or trying to contact you about. So if you have a really good FAQ, that would definitely help you out a lot. And JP, yeah, just talked about the live chat. That's another thing that I was going to touch on. Very important to have a live chat. Make sure that you can almost instantly answer those questions for those people. I mean, the faster you can communicate with them, in the world we're living in, the faster you're going to get that sale, the faster you're going to provide that value for that customer. So,
Right. And I think just like on another level of that, if so one of our clients sells clothing online, and in the store you have the option to like talk to them and walk them through like how, what, where, what looks good with what. And the chat allows that customer service feature to really be expanded on online. So yeah, I cannot advocate for that chat features enough. Thanks for putting that out, JP.
and yeah, it does require a human. I know JP just made a comment because a lot of companies don't use live chat because it requires someone to be constantly there. But there's a whole bunch of new apps for live chats coming out. A lot of them that automatically connect with Slack or even your own personal email. So you don't necessarily have to have someone 24/7 in front of a computer to answer these questions. You can do, the leave a message option. And it just goes to your email. If your email goes to your phone and you can answer it quickly, just go ahead and do that. And
Right.
even on Slack,
I think there is a way to integrate with this with Slack. Don't quote me on that, but I think there is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a live chat that we've talked about it before that does integrate with Slack.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I was like, I knew we talked about it, or I thought I did. Okay. All right, so let's move on here to number 5. And this is a good segue because we kind of talked about this a little bit with Christian in number 4, and that is social media icons. So we believe this is our preference and how we think and how we know it's been effective for our clients is to put the social media icons at the bottom of the page. Yes, you want to be social and you want them to find you, but you don't want them to go to your website and click on, ooh, what are they doing on Facebook or Twitter, instead of what they're really doing on your website, which is to purchase something. Social media is an awesome avenue to communicate with them, but it's all about driving traffic back to your website. You don't want them to go to your website and then go right back to social media. So we say put it down at the bottom. Yes, we want to be social. Come and find us on social media. Perfect. But let's not ignore the first option or the whole reason that we want them to go to the page.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 6. It's a really small one, but it's an important one, and we've seen this a lot with a few older websites, I would say, that don't have this, which is the having your company phone number in a click-to-call format. So what that means is like whenever they're in on a smartphone or sometimes even using a tablet or even a computer, because you can use Skype from your computer. Being able to, whenever they see your phone number on your website, be able to touch it or click it and automatically making that phone call. I know because of my computer being hooked up to the FaceTime and my phone, I can actually do it from my computer and click on phone numbers and it will call from my computer. But it's usually for smartphones. And I know I use it. We use it all the time if we're on the road and we're looking for some company or we're looking for somewhere to eat and we need some questions. We go to their website and we want to click on that phone number to make sure that we call them. And sometimes they don't have that click to call format on the phone numbers, and it's really, really important that you have that. It's a quick tweak that you can do. But yeah, it's just a faster way for you to get a hold of someone. So,
and it just for me, it takes away if half the people are doing it and you're not, then now I remember you as the company who frustrated me that I had to go to your website and then I had to type it back into my phone to call you. I couldn't just click it. So JP asked a question over here. Syncs with QuickTime and your phone.
Not QuickTime, FaceTime. I know I clicked on it the other day on my computer because I have my computer, my phone, and my tablet all synced So even when I get phone calls, I can answer them from my computer too. So I have all that stuff synced together, all Apple products. So anytime I get a phone call, or I can even make phone calls from my computer, get all my text messages from my computer. So everything's just, all together.
Right. And it's actually kind of annoying on my part because like one of them will start ringing before the other one.
Right.
And so like my phone will ring and then my computer will start ringing when I've already answered the phone. But I digress. All right. Any other questions about the click to call? Make sure you post that question down there for me, Christian, if you can. Number 7 is analytics. So whether you're using something that already has plugins like WordPress or something that already has the analytics on the site like Squarespace, you need to know your numbers basically, at least the basic features of like, who's going to your website, where they're coming from, and how long they're staying. This helps you gather data on like figuring out who your customers are, where you need to double down on your marketing efforts, and really just know your customer base. And if you don't have any analytics set up on your website with WordPress or Squarespace or anything, and you just have an HTML website or something like that, Google Analytics is free. Very simple to sign up. Just Google Analytics and go to the very top of it. It's going to be the first link and walk through the steps. You'll set it up, and it's very, very simple to do. And again, it's free, and it will tell you that information. Reading analytics is pretty intimidating for the average person. Yes, it is. JP mentioned that. And I will say it is intimidating at first. But depending on how much in depth you want to go to, knowing where a customer's coming from, it's pretty straightforward as far as like referrer source is from Pinterest or referrer source is from Google. That's all pretty straightforward. Now, if you get into the deep analytics of it and like, average time on page and the bounce rate, that can be a little intimidating. I would definitely suggest checking out a YouTube page, or actually you can just message Christian and I, and we could help you with that. But just for basic information, I would say, that's a good starting point for your website, and you should have those numbers so you have an idea of where we're going. Like, okay, I have 200 visitors per month, and now that I know I have 500 visitors per month, I've grown.
Yep. All right, so number 8. Very quickly, basically fresh quality content. So this is, something that we talk about all the time to our clients, and a lot of people don't want to do this because it requires time,
Work,
effort, and work. But basically, yeah, keeping, you have your website, and if you have a static website, it's really hard for you to really compete with other websites who are doing what they're supposed to be doing with the website, which is creating that content either via blog posts, adding YouTube videos to your website, maybe even having, I don't know,
you could have blab. You could have a live stream blab.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do today to keep some of your content, fresh on your website. And again, the blog is just, the oldest way to do this. But again, a lot of people don't want to do that. I know we've kind of gone another route with the blabs, and then putting our blabs in our YouTube, and then we'll eventually have these in our website. And I mean, we're still thinking about doing, some type of blogging still, just to keep generating, again, it helps with SEO, it helps with, those keywords, and it helps you compete against other people who
are doing that
and have been doing that for a long time. So it's very important to do that and start early, and just do it, even if it's not good, even if the blog posts are not, super long, just start somewhere.
Right. You'll get better. You'll get a lot better. But I mean, if you go to Google right now and you found, or you Googled something like a product, or you Googled, how to do something with websites, the first thing that's going to pop up is either a really popular website hosting site like, WordPress or Squarespace, or it's going to be a blog. So blogs are working. We just cannot stress that enough, that people want to hear all the hacks and tricks and everything, and there's really no hack or trick around it. You have to put in the work. You have to create the content to be better. You can be average and just not create content, and you'll do okay, maybe. But to really excel, you have to create the content.
Yeah.
All right. So that was what number was that? Number 8.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So number 9. Again, this is one I cannot stress enough, and that is to set up something on your website to capture emails, even if you're not going to use them right now. But these are people who are highly engaged with what you want or what you're selling or services you're providing. They're people that have said, like, yes, you can come into my inbox and tell me about what you're doing. So if we step back a second and say, okay, I have 200 people on my email list. It's just Aaron and Christian, BitBranding, talking to 200 people. You don't get that kind of exposure, with anything else. And so getting the email addresses, I cannot, again, stress this enough. Get them, keep collecting them. There's things that are like, what is it? It's that Neil Patel, he has something. I can't remember what it's called. It's like egg something. I cannot remember. Crazy Egg, yes. And then there's also companies like Sumo Me that you can set it up for free and pop up, get an email address. A lot of us say, like, oh, I hate pop-ups and and I always exit out, but statistics show that they work. Now, we do not advocate that you just say, like, hey, sign up for our newsletter, because nobody wants to do that unless you're like Apple or something. But if you provide value and you give away something like, 10 tips on how to grow your website in 10 days, heck yeah, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to get that free PDF, and you have my email address. Okay, you provided me value. So definitely get those email addresses and use that as your marketing structure. And, if that's not in what you're doing right now, at least you have the email addresses and the database to use that later. And then one last thing that I would say is that you can use it for so many other things besides just sending an email. Facebook has a place for you to set advertising only to your email list. MailChimp has place that you can send out just surveys to people.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looks like Eric's talking about running an email sweepstakes right now. Kind of curious what he's talking about with that. But yeah, running sweepstakes or contests for stuff so very interesting.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, I know with Sumo Me and like there's other applications, you can tell them exactly. I think these are more the pro features, but you can tell them exactly, when and where, or how do you want these pop-ups to appear. So it doesn't have to be necessarily as soon as they go into your page. It could be whenever they click on a specific page, or when they scroll down to a specific section. You can have this pop-ups come on, and you see that a lot whenever if you're on a web page. And you're about to leave and your cursor is going to the exit button or the X button, you can see a pop-up comment like, hey, don't leave yet. We got this going on.
Right.
And that's how they do it.
And it works too, because it's like, yeah, they can tell that you're scrolling up there and you're like about to click exit. And it's like, hey, but wait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so JP asks a question over here. Let's see real quickly. Can you integrate with Twitter using your email list for Twitter ads? I am not familiar with Twitter ads that well. I've really only messed with Facebook, LinkedIn. I have not played around too much on Twitter, just because our audience specifically is not hanging out with Twitter as much. We're more B2B. But I wish I could answer that to you, and I really do not know that question. I'm sorry.
We'll look into it, though.
Yeah, we'll look into it and let you know, because that just allows us. That could be a brainstorming thing that we do for that. You just gave us a brainstorming thing, so thank you, JP. And we'll do 10 things that you need to know about Twitter ads, and hopefully we can get some of that on there. Okay, we've got one more question over here. Let's see if we can pull that. How can websites make revenue from Google Ads? Okay, that is a very loaded question. Once the recording is done, we can kind of elaborate, and I'm sure some people can jump in on this one as well. But that can, that can get pretty in depth. I mean, we can talk about that for 10 or 15 minutes. But there's retargeting with Google Ads. There's it's so specific, but there is ways to do it, and we can definitely talk about that. But I just don't want to get too bogged down into that question right now, unless the question has like a simple answer on how to do that.
We could even do a blab about that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there we go. It could be an old blab. Yeah. That question right there, Shashi, that is a very good question. And it would be like a whole blab because that's it's a little bit more difficult than just like pay-per-click or sending out the retargeting advertising. So Eric, Eric's asking, would you say pay-per-click ads are the most effective? I don't know. Are you talking about for Facebook, or are you talking about like pay-per-click for Google as far as the impressions, or pay-per-click for? Okay. Would you say pay-per-click ads are the most effective? Oh, that depends. It really depends. It does not, for us, it doesn't matter what your clickbait is. If you're just putting out clickbait, it all has to have value behind it. And I know that's just like a standard answer, and you're like, that doesn't answer my question. We can get more into it, but it really is so specific onto what you are doing. So whether it's B2B, B2C, how you're targeting your audience, it's just so many levels with it. So dang, yes, that's a very good blab topic. I can tell you guys are interested in it, so I'm going to write that down right now that we will make that a blab so we can really go in depth and get some people on here if you guys want to. So thank you for that. And yeah, feel free to private message us on Twitter or something, or even wherever, and we can talk about it more in depth. But it's definitely a lengthy conversation. Okay, so I think Christian, you had number 10.
Yeah, so very quickly, number 10, it's an easy one. It's maybe something that's very kind of like a more like a duh, which is just consider your domain name, but obviously don't obsess over it. A lot of domain names out there are taken already, and it's kind of hard for you sometimes, even if you're taking this whole time trying to figure out your company name, and then you try to get your domain and it's already taken. So you have to like spend a whole bunch of other time trying to figure out what you want your domain name to be. Again, you want to make this easy for search engines and for people to. So you don't want to be you don't want to get bogged down, or you don't want to have a really long domain name, because I've seen things like like a doctor's office being Dallas Foot Doctors of McKinney, Texas.com, and then make it something ridiculous and crazy. It does need to be memorable. I know a lot of apps out there are doing things like, let's just say the app is called Whisper, whisper.com. Most likely it's going to be taken, but you can do something like getwhisper.com. Another thing that JP's talking about here, I don't know exactly. I thought that's what you were talking about, but the .coms, obviously there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do nowadays. I know our website is .co. You have .net, .org,
.ily.
Yeah, you have words that you can do now. Even we're looking at something, and you can do .business. Right, and then not okay. Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what I was going to talk about too. There's a lot of non.com domain names out there, and some of them are even cheaper than the actual .coms. So
right.
All that is important, and all that's you have to take into consideration when getting your domain name. Again, you want to make sure that's memorable. It's something that's easy to type to. I think another thing would be, like I said, a lot of people do a lot of words, and that can get confusing when someone's typing in your domain name, and it's just a lot of work, confusing words, or even words that end in, like, if you have a word that ends in S and then the other word starts with an S, and then you have a lot of S's going together, a lot of the same letters going together, it can get confusing. So,
and the numbers, I think the numbers are hard too. Like, there's a client of ours, or actually not client, but referral, and she's like, get 4 businesses today, like the number 4 and the number 2. It's very confusing, and if she were just to tell me that, I would never know that. JP says, are they all TLDs, top level domains? Are what all top level domains? Are you talking about like the .co and the .net? If so, yes. I mean, they're moving more towards that, because most of the .coms are moving to more popular, and they're being more accepted. Like, the app Musically is just blowing up, and I believe it's music.ily, or for our example of here, like BitBranding.co, they're adding higher value to it. So those non-com, I'm trying to say that the non-coms are becoming higher priced. So if you did google.co, or if you did google.ily or something like that, it's still going to be a high dollar tag. Austin says, speaking of domains, just get rich and pull Donald Trump and buy other candidates' domains or redirect them to your site. Yes. Yeah, that's okay. The point I got from that was that domains are very cheap. So a lot of you could buy multiple versions of your domains and redirect them to your site. Okay, so we will stop the recording here, and then stick around if anybody wants to ask any questions. And I know a lot of people were talking about Google, and last time we had Eric and JP jump in and kind of talk about what's going on with them and what their products are. But we're all about talking about small business, or today specifically on a small business website. If anybody has a website too, they want us all to look at, we can do that too. So, all right. So again, guys, my name is Aaron,
and I'm Christian.
And this was episode of 32 of Brain 10, where we brainstorm 10 ideas 2 to 3 times per week about small business, marketing, or tech. And we'll see you guys this Friday. I guess it's standard time, so 2:30 Central Standard Time, where we do our 10 tech items, 10 plus tech items of the week. Sometimes we have 11 or 12. They're specifically to help small businesses grow, or just really cool tech services that we found. So thank you, guys.